else? You think everybody's here? Just y'all?
Yep.
All right. Well, I'll tell you quickly, I'm Sheriff Jonathan Horton with Etowah County Sheriff's Office. I have with me here Chief Will Alexander of the Sardis Police Department and Dr. Alan Cosby, the Superintendent of the Etowah County School System. And we just want to briefly, because we've had a lot of calls and interest of what may have occurred in western Etowah County in the early morning hours, sometime around 7:30ish yesterday, October the 23rd, 2024. Sardis Police Department, within their jurisdiction, actually responded to Sardis Middle School to where the kids were dropped off in the school line, and it was a call that an individual that had dropped his middle school son off was driving the wrong way in the school line, and he had some conversation with the principal and just seemed to be disorderly, using profanity. That he was safe to continue on his route back home. The individual refused to exit the vehicle. He continued until he drove away from the school, and they drove, according to body cam footage, he left the school around 7:34, and he drove to his home at a residence on the west side of the county on Lawson Gap Road. He has a very long driveway. It's about a mile long. He parked his vehicle at about 7:41 a.m., and unfortunately he exited the driver's side of his vehicle, it appears, and began firing a handgun at the officer from Sardis Police Department. Without choice, the Sardis police officer began to defend himself and draw his weapon and fire back. By 7:42 a.m., the suspect appeared to have been subdued. The firefight appeared to have ended, and at 7:45, the first backup, which was a sheriff's deputy, arrived on scene. Himself and the officer then attempted to provide life-saving measures to the suspect without luck, without any success, and the sad circumstances at the end is that a white male by the name of I-A-N, Daniel Sullivan, 54 years old, of Boaz, Alabama, within Etowah County, was pronounced deceased on scene. Fortunately, the officer was unharmed. His vehicle was heavily damaged from the suspect's fired shots, was disabled from the fired shots, and we're very thankful that the Sardis police officer, that will remain unnamed and not be identified at this time, is good and returned to his family. It's unfortunate that these events occurred the way they did, but unfortunately, if you pull a weapon and you fire it at someone or a law enforcement officer, the end result should be that you're fired back at, and unfortunately it resulted in the death of this suspect. We are very thankful that there was nothing that had occurred of violence at the school. Everyone was safe at the school. The principal did an outstanding job contacting law enforcement. Law enforcement from Sardis Police Department made a very quick response and tried what they could to subdue the subject on scene. We, the Etowah County Sheriff's Office, was brought into the picture for a couple of reasons. One, we were asked to investigate the officer-involved shooting on behalf of the Sardis Police Department, since we're an outside agency. Secondly, because the event unfolded and ended in Etowah County within our jurisdiction. We always, as a matter of procedure for us, reach out to the Jacksonville State Forensics Unit, Jacksonville State Center for Applied Forensics, and they are assisting the Etowah County Sheriff's investigators in conducting this officer-involved shooting. In any case such as this, obviously, the deceased is in the custody of the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences as they conduct an autopsy. Outside of that, there's very limited information that we can provide, and But we are thankful that everybody from the school and law enforcement did what they could, kept the kids safe. Nothing occurred on the school grounds, and at the end of the day, the officer was able to go home and be with his family. I just hate that these events occurred the way they did, but we didn't make those decisions. Just thankful that they ended as well as they could. Do you have any questions of me?
Was the man having any kind of like mental break or any known mental health issues?
None on record. No criminal history that we're aware of that was found. There wasn't any indication prior to this or during his conversation other than his refusal to follow the orders of the Sardis police officer and exit the vehicle at the school. Outside of that, you know, it was such a quick thing that, of course, the conversation, it was engaged for a good 6 or 7 minutes and was very diplomatic. The police officer appeared to give him every opportunity to exit the vehicle, and he just simply was not going to do that day.
Did you say that it was school personnel that called law enforcement initially to the school because he was being disorderly?
Initially, because he had just dropped off his middle school age child there at school.
Okay, so he did not contact law enforcement.
He did not contact. It was the school. That's correct.
Did you say that the officer involved, that his vehicle was or was not damaged?
The officer involved's vehicle was damaged by gunfire from the suspect.
Okay. Do you know how many total shots were fired?
I do not know how many total shots were fired completely. I think that throughout the investigation that will be determined. But I think that I can say the maximum number of shots that could be fired from the suspect's gun was fired. There wasn't any left to fire.
You kind of touched on this a moment ago, but I mean, this is just a very tragic situation, and I'm sure most law enforcement, members of law enforcement, never wish to find themselves in this situation. Can you just talk about, you know, the gravity of the situation? And I can't imagine what the officer is going through right now.
Yeah, absolutely. None of us get up every day and want something like this to ever happen. I do think, and I'd let Chief Alexander, he could tell you because he told me a story that, you know, I think the good Lord looks out for us, and this particular officer had just particularly went through some training to prepare for an event like this. And our training is very essential, and obviously he relied on that training and skills, and I truly believe from what I've seen so far, it's what allowed him to survive. You want to speak about that, Chief? His training he just done?
Sure. This past Tuesday, the city of Boaz, one of their training officers had provided a class on patrol rifle and situation with transferring from a rifle to a handgun and back and forth on that. My officer had gone through that class on Tuesday, and he was telling me yesterday, he said, I didn't know it, but he said, I think God was preparing me for what he knew was coming. He said, because I hadn't really had the opportunity to shoot that much this year when he normally shoots a lot. And he said he took that class last Tuesday. He went out 3 days after the class and practiced the techniques that they were teaching. And then yesterday he was involved in the shooting, and he was able to implement the tactics and do it exactly how he was taught. No, he was by himself.
And then can you talk a little bit about just kind of the protocol that there is when the parent left the school, why the officer followed, and just kind of what was going on there?
Well, with the smelling of alcohol on the subject, he believed the subject was intoxicated to the point where he didn't need to be on the road. And that's why he was asking him to step out of the vehicle. He was going to perform a series of field sobriety tests. And when the subject took off and left, he felt like that was endangering the public. They actually passed our high school in the process of the chase, which could have endangered even more students at that time. And basically a DUI or possible DUI turned into a lot more than it should have. Because of the suspect's choices.
Has the blood alcohol test come back yet? Do we know?
No.
Is there anything that you would like the community to know right now, or any message that you
I would like to tell our community up there that we appreciate the support that we've received. Also, I appreciate the support we've received from the law enforcement community as well. I was contacted by no less than 10 different agencies and probably 30 different police officers yesterday, contacted by employers that have businesses in our area, and they all wished to tell me the same thing. They were glad our officer was safe. They were glad he was back home with his family, and they were praying for us. And that's something that I never get tired of hearing.
And the officer involved, is there any sort of, counseling services available for him, just having to go through a situation like that?
Yes, we're actually actively arranging that right now.
Is the officer on any kind of administrative leave while the investigation is ongoing, or is he still on staff?
Yes, he's actually on administrative paid leave until we get more information on this and give him a time to let his mind rest and reflect.
I have one question for the board. Just tell me, how does it feel, I know that was a very traumatic moment. Talk about how the kids, going through that and maybe seeing that, how it could be traumatic. They didn't, obviously they didn't see it. Just the idea of them actually being safe and having police around to be able to stop that before, they were being harmed.
Well, we're very fortunate in that students were pretty much all inside the building, and very few were even aware that anything was going on outside. So we're very fortunate in that. But our relationship with law enforcement, certainly the Sardis Police Department, the Etowah County Sheriff's Office, and all of our local agencies, it's invaluable to our schools and our school system, certainly through our SROs, et cetera, because they provide a resource there, keeping our children safe every single day, and we're very thankful for those relationships.
How is the little boy doing?
To my knowledge, our personnel in our school system, they have reached out to the family, so we're in the process of checking on the young man, and we will continue to do so throughout this process and to avail of any services that we may have, not only to help him but help the family as well.
Has this parent had any issues with school staff before?
Not that I'm aware.
Anything else any of y'all would like to say, or you think we missed maybe that we should talk about? Thank y'all.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you.
I did have one last question.
Right.
Is there any way that we would be able to get Sullivan's photo ID? The deceased victim?
A picture, Josh, we can get him a picture. I think there's,
I just asked because it was, yes.
yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Can get a picture.
I asked this because I saw it up there.
Yeah.
Would it also be possible to get a copy of the body camera footage?
That's still under a process of investigations, and we would only be able to release that with a subpoena, and right now, we don't have copies of it. It's being viewed by the appropriate authorities, Jacksonville State, forensics, and so forth. We thank y'all for taking the time and educating and coming out and letting the public know. I know we've had several calls, and just thankful for everybody that's done their part. Thankful for you guys too.